La ilaha illallah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I became interested in this topic by working with a colleague who is a staunch supporter of new atheism. I am a cancer surgeon by profession, and my colleague is an anesthetist. We work together once a week. My colleague starts the day by saying, "God did not make the man, man made God." Sometimes I ignore what is being said or respond with a light-hearted comment. Other times, I relish the opportunity to engage in a debate about God. These debates have enthused me to do more research into the allegations against God and religion made by the proponents of new atheism, or brights, as they sometimes call themselves. New atheism is a worldview that presents God as a delusional concept and religion as blind faith which has no evidence base. They also describe religion as opium for minds. Today, I would like to share some of my research about new atheism, their allegations, and how to respond to these. It seems that the allegations against God and religion can be broadly classified into three categories, which are rhetorical, scientific, and philosophical allegation. I will discuss these allegations presented in each categories. Let's take the first category. Is God a delusional concept? In his famous book, The God Delusion, Professor Richard Dawkins says, "Isn't it better to be satisfied with the beauty of the garden without needing to imagine that there is a fairy at the bottom of it?" This is a classical case of using rhetoric to give false alternatives. I am sure you would all agree with me that looking at a beautifully manicured garden, no sensible adult thinks about a fairy. We all think about a gardener who has designed and created this garden. New atheists align the concept of God with fairies, pixies, elves, hobgoblins, leprechauns, or pink unicorns. Professor Dawkins in his book The God Delusion says, "Father Christmas and Tooth Fairy are the part of the charm of childhood. So is God. Some of us grow out of all three." What Professor Dawkins fails to mention is that many individuals accept the idea of the existence of God as adults, when they have long outgrown the concept of Tooth Fairy and Father Christmas. We Ahmadi Muslims personally know many people who came to believe in and experience God. We all witness that the Tooth Fairy and leprechauns are not any part of their beliefs. Professor Andrew Sims, the past president of the Royal College of Psychiatrists and the author of the book Symptoms in Mind, refutes the concept of God as a delusion. He says, faith in itself is not a delusional concept. Professor Sim also asserts that religious belief is volitional, an act of will and willing actions. New atheists argue that faith is blind and has no evidence base. Nothing could be further from the truth. Islam categorically condemns blind faith that is based on the faith of one's forefathers. The Holy Quran advises us to explore our faith in order to make progress. As it says in the chapter 3, In the creation of heaven and the earth, and in the alteration of the night and the day, there are indeed signs for men of understanding. With the increasing degree of certainty, one's faith is consolidated and enhanced. This concept is beautifully illustrated in the Holy Quran and explained in the Ahmadiyya Muslim literature. The promised Messiah, on whom be peace, says, "By observing the component parts of the universe, individually or collectively, and their flawless and perfect order, the rational faculties given to man can, at the most, conclude that this universe, which is based on profound principles and deep wisdom, ought to have a creator. They cannot go as far as to affirm that he does indeed exist. Human beings require spiritual faculties such as dreams and revelations to make this transition from there must be a God to there is a God. The promised Messiah, on whom be peace, has explained this comprehension of God with an excellent example. From the sight of smoke in the jungle, we infer that there must be fire producing this smoke. We need to visualize and experience the fire to be certain. In the same way, Islam encourages us to ascertain our doctrine by following our teachings. This would enhance the faith to the level of increasing certainty as exemplified by being sure of the existence of fire by seeing and experiencing its warmth. The faith taught by Islam is neither blind nor without evidence. We present the divine prophecies and foretelling of natural phenomenon as evidence of the existence of God. The Holy Quran explains the events of creation of the universe, which is totally consistent with modern scientific understanding. The Holy Quran says, "The heaven and the earth were a closed-up mass, and we clove them asunder." This indeed is a foretelling of the events of Big Bang, that universe was created from singularity. Ratqan is an apt description of black holes. Black holes are completely closed-up masses which comprise of total darkness. Then there are many cosmic facts which are accurately described in the Holy Quran well before their scientific discovery. For example, the concept of continually expanding universe, the sun and the moon gliding in their orbits, sun heading towards an ultimate abode of rest as it runs out of energy. The truthfulness of these words of God is the evidence of the existence of God, who designed and created this universe. Further evidence of the existence of God comes from divine prophecies, such as joining of the two seas by Panama and Suez canals, and tracks forming in the heavens due to modern-day aviation. New atheists use rhetoric initially stated by Karl Marx that religion is opium for the masses. It lands people in a state of false sense of security and false reassurance. I would robustly argue to the contrary, that atheism is the new opium. Rejection in the belief of God gives people a false sense of liberation from ultimate accountability, lulling them into a false sense of autonomy and an apparent right to do whatever they please. The Polish philosopher and the Nobel Prize winner Czesław Miłosz summed this up beautifully. He says, A true opium for the people is a belief in nothingness after death. The huge solace of thinking that our betrayals, greed, cowardice, and murders, we are not going to be judged. New atheists argue that intellectually competent scientists cannot believe in the existence of God. One has to choose between science or God. This is a classical case of offering false choice. In reality, when we see eminent scientists like Michael Faraday, Charles Boyle, Albert Einstein, along with Newton, Max Planck, and Francis Collins, we will find that they were all believers in the existence of a creative superpower. So I can assure you that if you are a scientist and believe in God, then you are in very good company. New theists talk about God hypothesis and failure of this concept. This is an immensely unwise approach to seek God. God is a transcendent being and beyond the principles of matters, energy, and time. It is a folly to seek a transcendent God through the principles of methods that apply to physical matters, and through senses which are limited and using tools which have finite capacity. Thomas Huxley was right when he said that science cannot lead to God. To seek the presence of God, we need to follow the principles and methods described by those chosen by God to lead to Him, that is, the prophets sent to this world.